Alright, so I drove my first laps at Norway Motorsport Park during one of the rental league nights, and it was great, but also pretty chaotic because it did rain towards the end. This layout, I gotta say, is like the best track, best layout in Illinois. So starting off here, this is practice, and it went pretty well. Now, there were no transponders, so I could not tell, like, lap times or anything, so it was all based on feeling and, I guess, instinct. Christian, who was ahead of me, again in kart 10, he was not actually trail braking, he was lifting, so that seemed to work pretty well for him. I did get past him, and I did make a mistake right after that, going into the heavy braking zone. I think I locked the rears, and it kind of just went completely wide, and that really just set me off a little bit because the guys behind, who were, I think, probably locals, they were already faster than me, of course. Now when it comes to learning either a new track, new kart, or new car actually, if I'm on my sim racing rig, I like to just throw the car around as much as I can. I try to get a feel for the brakes and brake deep, brake late, anywhere, everywhere, and just really just trying to find the limit that way. Of course, that usually involves going off the track or missing my braking point or making mistakes, but it's a good way to learn. And also, the guy behind, who was, I think, pretty quick as well, he made a dive bomb on me, or really, actually, not even a dive bomb. It was a pretty clean move, actually, up the inside. And he did apologize a couple times, actually, but it was kind of funny because the move was pretty fair. So, and also, one thing to note is that the curbs here are pretty rough, a little bit rough. A little bit of porpoising and bouncing every time you take them, but I think it was faster to, well, some parts of the track you might want to avoid them, and other parts you want to actually take them, at least from my experience here. Later on, I went for a move here at the heavy braking zone and almost killed this guy in kart 17. Had a little moment on the brakes. Again, I locked the rears, and really I was just trying to again, learn the brakes. I wasn't 100% confident at this stage. Well, not confident, maybe that's not the word. Really just, my driving was sort of sloppy. Not sloppy, but it was not precise, let's put it that way. I had a good idea where the limit was for the brakes, but I wasn't quite there yet. Again, I was just trying to learn and trying to, get a feel for it. So, not a great move there. Almost, killed him, but, we live and we learn. Later on, eventually I did get past 17 here on the straight. Just a standard, DRS or slipstream overtake. And then the session ended. So that was practice 1. Well, practice, yeah, that was the only practice I had. Again, not bad. Great track. And we move on to race 1. So since heavyweight went first, we did run into a situation where we started and it rained mid-session, and this was a bit interesting, and actually it ruined my race, but not really the rain's fault, of course. It's more just my fault, just a massive skill issue. And so yeah, green flag, here we go. It was double file. I was like somewhere in like P10 or something, P12 or something like that. Went for a move on the inside. Bump drafted kart 6 and got through past that guy on the outside, and from here got another move done on the straights, and then here we go down the main straight. Kart 8 gets pushed on the grass, and on the brakes he has a little moment, and I take advantage of that. Boom, there we go into P5 here, so already making places up. And then coming up on kart 10, go for a nice classic slipstream overtake. Give it a little tap to know I'm there on the side. And there we go. Because, I always like to do that because you don't want to go for a move and then, have them just not know you're there and then have a crash there. But of course, it's always on the kart behind to make the pass cleanly. And yeah, P4, and then I'm catching down at this point, or hunting down, Andres, one of Christian's friends. Now, going into turn 1 and 2, there was a bit of fighting between Andres and Cart. Let me see. I don't know why the GoPro here was so jittery, but it was. Yeah, Cart 88 there. I did push Andres along to, help him out. Also, P1 made a mistake going into the heavy braking zone, and boom, there I was, up into P2. I did make use of the inside line to get ahead into P2. And now at this point, I was thinking of making a move on Andres on the next lap, but then this is where the rain comes down, and it just kind of goes downhill from here. So Andres slides a little bit into turn 1, and in response, I lift off the throttle, but then the cart behind me hits me a little bit, and I go into the grass, and I'm down like to 5th and 6th. Wasn't great, got more wet, or I got more rain on my tires, and I don't have a lot of experience in the wet at all. I've had like maybe 4 times I've driven in the wet, and it wasn't very long. And I think it's just my driving style where I just don't really know how to, I guess, find the grip in the wet. Of course, you want to always go offline, but for this kart, I was experiencing anytime you turn it more than like 40% steering, you just lock the fronts. It would just slide and skid. So I tried to use some trail braking to get the kart to rotate instead, but apparently that didn't really work at all either. After the race, I asked Andres what he was doing, and basically, he finished P2. And he said to have a very sharp turn-in, initial turn-in, very sharp, and then just let off. But no, a little bit of like, you gotta ease into it, and then sharp turn-in, and then, let off and be very smooth on the throttle. Later on, I had a Spinella. That is what we call that in the Ferrari F1 meme community, I guess. It's just an Italian way to say spin. And of course, I got a little bit lucky because the guy behind me also had a spin. So that was nice. I think I kept, what was this, P5, P6-ish? And yeah, at this point, again, I'm just kind of lost. Not panicking, of course. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. And then into turn 3, I had a spin. I think this was under braking. I tried to like keep the wheels straight, and then I tapped the brakes, but then it just spun me around. So that wasn't great. I think I lost a place again, and then the guy ahead of me, I think that's kart 10, also had a little moment as well. So yeah. Christian, by the way, just to give a quick update on him, he was like in the bottom 10-ish area, and I think he was also having some issues. Oh, right. He had a throttle issue actually, where it was stuck, so he kept spinning in the double left-hander on the downhill. So that wasn't great. But yeah, that was race 1. Really fun session, of course. Not ideal. Going from almost a P1 to like P6. That just really shows you that I definitely got to get some more seat time in the rain. I am. That's my handicap at the moment, which is horrible. You think of the best drivers in the world, like let's say, of course, everyone knows Max Verstappen. That's one of his biggest strengths is wet driving, and yeah, I just don't have much experience there. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. Race 2 was not run actually, like I said, because it rained again, and they just canceled the race. So it will be pushed back to next week, next Friday. So I guess stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys later.